So picture this. You're walking down a foggy London alley. The only sounds are your footsteps and water dripping from somewhere up above. A drop traces an icy finger down your spine. You hope against hope it's not piss, but deep down you know. It isn't your voice. Suddenly you realize the Ripper has taken another life. Jack the Ripper, the psycho who turned 1888 into a horror show for many in England, still has us guessing over a century later. Is it DNA or just more fog? For the next 10 minutes or so, I'll drag you through this bloody mess, and we'll see what we scare out on the other side. I'm the average fat guy, you're whoever you are, and this is the one about the Ripper's identity. Stick around, this one's more complicated than IKEA furniture directions, and that's saying something. Welcome back to the channel, friends, comrades, Dave, where I, your aggressively average host, unpack stories from the weirder side of life. If you're new to the channel, subscribe. We're knee-deep in weird history tonight. Today it's Jack the Ripper, the guy who slashed his way into legend but never got caught. Tomorrow, it's the one about the devil and the blues man. No, really, tomorrow. Since you guys showed up so much for my first 27 Club video, I wanted to show a little love in return and go ahead and drop the second installment of my 27 Club series a week early. And that's kind of what the upload schedule is going to look like for the foreseeable future. Weekly uploads. Every other week will be a series video with standalone videos or potentially another series in between. But every other week will be a video in the series. Now back to our regularly scheduled programming. So I got hooked on this mystery probably all the way back in middle school. I remember watching a grainy documentary. No doubt I was skipping school that day, and I don't remember all of the circumstances clearly, but what I do remember is there was an artist rendition from somewhere around the time of Jack the Ripper. That creepy Victorian era dress in a drawing really stuck with me. It gave me nightmares if I remember correctly. So we fast forward today, here I sit, a grown-up with a camera, a microphone, and some editing software. So now you get to listen to what I got to say about it, if you clicked on the video anyway. So this video is the rundown. What's new and why it's still a head scratcher. This mystery has all the right moves. Murder, mystery, mayhem, and just a touch of WTF. It's all in good fun. Well, for us anyway. So sit back and grab a snack. I'd join you, but me eating on camera would get me banned quicker than a Victoria ankle photo. Scandalous. So without further ado, let's dive into the spooky side of London's past. Cue the fog. Seriously, you thought I had the budget for that kind of thing? So who or was, I guess in this case, Jack the Ripper? Sounds kind of like a shitty rave DJ, doesn't he? But he's so much worse. Back in 1888, this shadow carved up London's East End, Whitechapel to be exact. He's tied to at least 5 women, and I'm going to look away from the camera a little because I have to read these names. Mary Ann Nichols, Annie Chapman, Elizabeth Stride, Catherine Eddowes, and Mary Jane Kelly. They were all prostitutes. That's not a commentary, that is just what they have in common. Anyway, Homeboy made their murder scenes look like the B-roll of an 80s horror flick. What he lacked in skill, he made up for in vigor. These poor women had their throats slashed, organs were missing. Jack wasn't exactly subtle. The cops got letters too, like the From Hell letter. It came with a chunk of somebody's kidney. That being said, I think I just lost my appetite. That might be the first time that's ever happened. I guess they called him the Ripper because he ripped through these victims with 5 murders in 10 weeks. And then all of a sudden, poof, he's gone. Ghosted me like that chick on Tinder. The newspapers went wild. London lost its doors. And somehow, this dude still manages to escape. Not a friggin' trace. Was he a doctor with all that fancy knife work or just a lunatic? So all of this makes him the OG mystery man. He is the original serial killer with a point to prove, I suppose. And over 130 years later, we're still trying to find out who the guy was. It kind of makes my couch potato lifestyle seem a little more reasonable now, doesn't it? So fast forward to 2025 and there's a new lead in the case colder than the halftime show. It comes in the form of DNA evidence from a shawl. This shawl allegedly comes from the murder scene of Catherine Eddowes.
Allegedly.
It's blood-stained and creepy and not exactly something one would want to wear to dinner. 2 scientists, again, I'm going to read the names, Dr. Jari Lohelanine and David Miller, found DNA on the shawl matching Aaron Kosminski. All of the DNA findings were published in the Journal of Forensic Sciences in 2019, I believe. Now, Kosminski was a Polish barber who lived near the murders. So here's the catch. The shawl's been passed around more than my old mixtapes, and to the point at which nobody's even 100% sure it was there in 1888. It was most likely there, but we can be only 99% positive. The chain of custody over the years has been lackluster, to say the least. And the chain of custody for evidence in 1888 is shakier than my editing skills. It's a work in progress. Also, the DNA is brought into question because it's mitochondrial. Mitochondrial DNA, being passed from the mother, can go for generations unchanged. This all means, when you put it together, that this only guarantees that someone who was related to both Eddowes and Kosminski touched this shawl at some point. Because DNA from both were found on it, we can be fairly positive that someone who was related touched it. It's not exactly the smoking razor, if you will. I'm no biology expert. Hell, I barely passed. But it feels like it could be a bit of a stretch. Kosminski was nuts, to be sure. I mean, they locked him up in an asylum by 1891. But was he a killer? I mean, maybe, but none of this guarantees that he was sticking knives in people. What do you think? Is it case closed or just more of that noise we've been talking about? Kosminski's not the only guy in the frame here. Jack the Ripper's got a whole lineup. First, there's Montague Druitt. He was a lawyer, and he drowned himself right after the murder stopped. That's pretty convenient, wouldn't you say? There's no proof. Then there's Walter Sickert. He was a painter that Patricia Cornwall swore by. His DNA was found on some fake Jack the Ripper letters. So maybe, but he's still a long shot. Then you got Ham Hams, or Haim Hames. Either way, he was a violent cigar maker with a bad leg and a worse name. Close, but still no cigar. There was even a diary that popped up from James Maybeck. He admitted to everything. Cool story, bro, but it's shaky at best. In 1888, there were no fingerprints. There was no CSI. There was just cholera and guesswork. Every new lead added a name, but no one's got the smoking razor. Kind of makes you wonder, was this guy a absolute mastermind murderer, or was he just a lucky psychopath? Either way, I'm just here for the ride. So why is this important even after all this time? It's not just something for me to ramble on about. Well, on the one hand, you have actual advancements made in DNA and cold case investigation. There's no real skin in the game here. All the victims are long since gone. The murderer is long since gone, so we can test out new leads, and if we get it wrong, it's not really that big of a deal. We can test out new methods, and if we get it wrong, it's not really that big of a deal. The other reason is why we're all here. It's that thing that went bump in the night one time. It's that shadow that you see in the corner of your eye, that little thing that kind of creeps you out. It's scary because 5 lives were snuffed out, but it's safe because it's so long ago. No one ever got any answers, but there's a buzz even now. It's the 2025 version of a Victorian gossip circle with way more memes and a lot less proper grammar. This is one of those stories that's just haunted me since that grainy documentary. It keeps me up more than my dog snoring. But at this point, it's just a story. It's blood, it's fear, it's probably a madman. But I'll tell you, even with all the doubts surrounding it, I'm not going to be one of those YouTubers that doesn't give you their opinion. I think it's Kosminski. So there's your madman. Kosminski fits enough of the story before the DNA. The DNA adds the last piece of the puzzle for me until something else pops up that completely turns the story on its ear. And I can make that call because it happened so long ago, there's no danger of an innocent person being on the hook for something they didn't do. Why are you interested in the story, though? There's bound to be a reason you hung around this long. Drop me a comment and let me know. So that's Jack the Ripper. History's creepiest cold case. What do you think? Was it Kosminski or was it coincidence? You tell me down in the comments. So if you're interested in history, mystery, and just weird stuff in general, like, share, comment, subscribe. All that stuff keeps the algorithm happy and it keeps it pushing my videos out to you. And don't forget, I'll be back tomorrow with the one about the blues man and the devil. So anyway, thanks for hanging out with me. I'm the Average Fat Guy, and remember, the next time you're walking down a dark, foggy alley, it was probably piss. But when you hear that little voice in the back of your head tell you something, you should probably listen.